Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. Today's album review is on Sisters of Mercy 1987 album, Floodland. This is their second album, but the band had been playing together for a good 6-7 years before this album came out. They did quite a few singles before they released their first album in 1985, First, Last, and Always, and then this is their second album. Um, So definitely was looking forward to doing this review on this album when I picked it last week. But we're gonna jump right into it. There's 10 tracks on here. That's the version that I'm going with. I know there's some that have 8 tracks, but I'm going with the one with 10 tracks. This is one of the reissues. It didn't have one of the tracks on this particular one. Torch and looks like Torch and Colors weren't on here on this particular version, but that's kind of why the vinyl version. Um, I I don't listen to this vinyl version much, also because I don't like mobile fidelity. But I definitely wanted a copy of this, but I got a couple copies on CD of this, and the remaster version is really cool because it adds the longer Neverland track, and of course Torch and Colors, which I think are real strong tracks as well. But yeah, so 10 tracks on here. 1987 this came out. First track is Dominion / Mother Russia. This is certainly a classic for the band. I think everything works really well in this song, so much so that even the saxophone works good. So, I mean, you think of like I don't know what genre this is. Is it the death rock, or is it hard rock, or is it? It's not EBM, but you know what I mean. Like so for a saxophone to work in this kind of genre, that's how good this album is as far as like the fidelity and the timelessness of the music and the way they produced it. It's really a timeless album in so many ways, but the album has such a vintage sound. But yeah, I mean, Dominion, guitar riff, bass, classic track. Even the loud snare doesn't bother me in this track. I got 3 3/4 stars. Really strong opener, and it goes right into the Flood, which I think is even better. This is the Flood one. I love the sequencer bass line. It's kind of eerie. Andrews with his haunting vocals on this, drums, guitar. Sort of has like a church organ keyboard sounds. It's just all together. It's just magic. Um, as this album is, 4 stars for Flood one. Lucretia, My Reflection, massive track too. Heavy, epic, wall of guitar sound. Lyrics. They do such a great job layering some guitars on here, like some main riffs with some more epic ones, like the cascading kind of guitar sounds in Lucretia My Reflection is really cool. I like the lyrics. I like Andrew's. Sometimes they're kind of vague lyrics, but they work really well with his music. 4 1/4 stars for Lucretia My Reflection. Super strong track. And then you have 1959, which is kind of the ballad of the album. It's kind of, the piano's really strong, lyrics, Andrew's voice. It's just such an underrated song. And, maybe not to people who love the album, but, for all the things that they do really well with the upbeat songs and classic songs they have, like, for them to do a ballad as good as 1959 is just shows you how really amazing this album is. I mean, I give it 4.5 stars. I even like this track more than Lucretia My Reflection. It's just amazing track. And then you have this Corrosion, which is a classic of the genre. Guitar, the backup singers. The backup singers are really key in this. I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but when you listen to this Corrosion, I was listening to this, just not the overall, and I was listening to some of the elements, and there's the background singers are so interesting and so unique and kind of crucial to the song, you might sort of miss them if you just kind of, but there's so many parts that they do. There's like, they do that, the sing, and then they do like, hey, hey, in the background, and then there's um, they're doing the na 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 na, and they're doing like so many different parts, and some of them are like almost over each other. It's really different, but I never really noticed there was that many different sort of. It sounds like they're samples too of a girl singing, and they're sort of hitting a keyboard like hey hey, you know what I mean? But it's like there's so many different parts that they do, like 3 or 4 parts they do on this album. On the song. But what can you say about the song? I mean, I think the thing that kind of really kind of says it all is the song is over 10 minutes, and it still holds your attention really well through the whole 10 minutes. I mean, that if that doesn't say how good the song is, I don't know what does. But it's just a classic of the genre. I don't know how you can not give. It may not be my even close to my favorite song on the album, but I respect it for what it is. It is a good track. It is really great track. Excuse me, and it's hard to not say this Corrosion isn't the example of this type of music. So considering that, I give it 5 stars. It's just a amazing track. Um, Flood 2, I like a little bit less than Flood 1, but not by much. I got it 3.5 stars. Still a really good secondary track, and to come off of the level that this Corrosion is at, energy wise, to come into this, it still works really well. Track 7 is probably my second favorite song on the album. 1959 is really close. Lucretia, My Reflection is really close. But I think my favorite track on here is probably Driven Like the Snow. The atmosphere, the driving rhythm. I think it's one of his best vocals. I have it 4.5 stars. Just an awesome song. Same thing with Neverland, 4.5 stars. How can a song be so good that's only like 2 minutes and 20 seconds? It's just there's like a 11-minute version or 12-minute version, and I listen to that song. I listen to that version more often, and even at that length and what little the track does, it still always has me glued to the end and singing along and enjoying that song at like 12 minutes, even though it doesn't really do too much. But it's so minimal and so perfect and so great that it's just. I mean, that's another thing about that it's not just good songs on here. There's things that a 10-minute song is 5 stars, and a 2-minute song is 4.5 stars. It's just like a ballad is 4.5 stars, and an upbeat one is 4.5 stars. Like you just have this. It's just this album has everything. And then the 2 extra tracks are really good too. Torch, the voice. It's definitely a different track than the rest of the album. Has like a kind of a keyboard flute sound, and the beat and the guitar keyboards all work really well together. And his voice. 4 stars. Another great track. Colors, the last track. This one's really powerful as well, but it's I have it 3.25 stars. Really strong track too, but compared to the rest of the album, that's actually the least liked song I have. Is 3.25 stars. So even though it's a really powerful song, it's the last song on the album. Um, it it's in my opinion, even though it's a really powerful song and it's a really good song, it couldn't even fit in the rest of the album. It just sort of had to go at the end because the rest of the album is so strong, which I would think normally a song this powerful would probably be like early in it, or maybe like after a slow song and to ramp it back up. But it's such a great song. It's just like it was like an extra on the album. It wasn't even on the original vinyl, just on the CDs and probably maybe the cassettes, and they just stuck it on at the end. That's how good this album was. The first 8 tracks. I mean, Torch is a 4-star track, and that didn't even make the album. Just an amazing album. So when I look overall at the good of the album, again, some of these songs are just staples of the genre, especially this Corrosion, Dominion, slash Mother Russia, and Lucretia, My Reflection. Those are like staples of the genre. Just, I mean, they're the examples that this album created. I mean, that's how amazing this album is, how inspirational this album is to anybody who does darker electronic music. I'm sure most would quote Floodland as an inspiration. I mean, it's just so important for the history of goth music. I mean, the history of dark wave, maybe even cold wave. I mean, it's also there's it inspired the fashion and the clothes, and a lot of people think that Robert Smith and the Cure are the quintessential goth, but in my opinion, probably it's Sisters of Mercy because he's Andrew Elrich is I mean he's got the look, he's got the attitude, he's got the he may not be as gloomy and be as sad on days as Robert Smith is on certain days, but Robert Smith is happy a lot of times, and Andrew seems like he's pissed all the time. So he's kind of like an angry goth. But I mean, as far as his look and his sound and their sound on the album, it's just, in my opinion, it's kind of the quintessential goth album, band, look, sound. You know, the album has surprisingly good depth, though. With 1959 and Torch and Driven Like the Snow, this has surprisingly really good depth. If you haven't heard the album, if you've heard the album, it's just part of the album. But I'm sure everybody who doesn't really like Sisters of Mercy or doesn't know them that well, sort of knows maybe a couple of popular songs. But you're really surprised on how good the rest of the songs are on the album. The sound is awesome with the album. It's like, who made electronic music and rock music sound this heavy? And they really committed to the sound. I think that's what's important too. You don't have like them trying anything out of the ordinary or doing a different song that doesn't fit. Like they all they all fit really well. Committed to that sound. It's consistent through the album. It's what can you say? It's just awesome. Andrew's voice is awesome. The cadence of his voice, the accent. Even I'll point this out. Even his shortcomings work. Like sometimes he runs out of breath or he sort of squeaks or something like that. Even when he does that, it works. Like I don't know if anybody else who really has faults in their voice. I mean, I think that's what makes it so unique is even the faults of his voice work really well with the music and work really well with the songs. You know, another really cool thing about the album is the use of the drum machine. I mean, basically, it's the drum machine is doing not only the bass, but I mean the drums, but the rhythm. So how could they in 1987 like they don't make you think like this is electronic music. This like it sounds rock. It sounds goth. It doesn't sound electronic. But it's an electronic album, and even the sequence and the rhythms are electronic. But it doesn't seem that way. I think that's really great in it itself that an album like this could hide that there's a keyboard, and I think that's the great thing about it is they weren't shy about it, right? Andrew gave it the name, calling it Doctor Avalanche. Giving the drum machine a name and making it part of the band is really cool because he wasn't shy. That in those days, can you imagine being a rock band and being like have a drum machine? Like you would think that half the people would laugh at you. Depeche Mode did that with when they first went on tour. They're like, we don't have a drummer, but let's just put the machine, the tape reel. Let's put the tape reel on the stage and not be shy that we don't have a drummer. That that takes a lot of guts in 1981 to do that. It takes a lot of guts in 1987 to do a heavy rock and goth album and not have a drummer and just do a beat machine. You know what I mean? Like he really embraced it. That's a great thing. So you take the songwriting, the sound, you know, the songs, the image, everything. Just just it amounts to an amazing album. When I look at the opportunities of the album, I can't think of anything. Nothing. Nothing. There's nothing. There's no opportunity on this album that I can think of. The length's good. The artwork is cool. Voice, production, the sound, the timelessness, the lyrics, the voices. What it's done for this, for the genre, who it's impacted. Just the timelessness it is 37 years later, how it still sounds amazing. Just a legendary album. It defined a sound, it defined a genre. It's timeless. 92 out of 100. The best rating I've ever given up to this point. Floodland. 92 out of 100. Amazing album.